So y'all want to hear about season 17, right? Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Holographic, the 80s icon of drag, and today I have a super special video. I've read your comments, read your messages, seen your comments on live, heard you in person. Jem, what do you think about season 17 of RuPaul's Drag Race? And Jem, why aren't you on season 17 of RuPaul's Drag Race? My thoughts on this current season of Drag Race and why I'm not on this current season of Drag Race will be revealed in this video. Synergy, play the intro. Before we get started with the video, I would like to thank a few fans who tipped me on Venmo. Thank you to Michelle, Josh, and Melanie. You guys are the best. If you guys would like to tip me, my tipping information will be down below as well as right here. As always, if you guys tip me, I might just shout you out in my next video. Alright, let's get the big pink elephant out of the room. Something that has been asked of me since I started doing YouTube. Jem, why aren't you on season 17 of RuPaul's Drag Race? And the short and simple answer to that question is...
Clap if you care. Clap if you care.
I didn't get chosen. Not a big deal. Wasn't my time. Season 18, watch out. A bitch is coming. And no, that's not a confirmation that I got casted on RuPaul's Drag Race season 18. I'm just manifesting it. RuPaul, stop playing with the dog. You know you want me on season 18. Please.
Girl, stop playing with us right now. Like, we really don't feel like it.
Alright, now that we got that business out of the way, what are my thoughts on season 17 thus far? Now, at the time of recording this video, we have just watched episode 11. Now, this is going to be somewhat of a long-form video. We are going to go through the season from the start to where we are, the highs and the lows. I have opinions, I have many opinions. I hope you guys are going to watch all the way through so that everybody is caught up on RuPaul's Drag Race season 17. So, what are my first impressions of the first 2 episodes? I'm going to be talking about them together because the talent show for me just kind of blends together. And the fact that they separated it into 2 episodes to make all the queens shine is great, but I don't have to talk about them separately. We can talk about them at the same time. And let me just say, I don't know why really, but just for me, my opinion, the second day's talent show just didn't give me the ooh-ah-ah sensation like the first day did. Alright, so let's go down each of the talent show performances and what I thought about them. Starting off with Jules Sparkles, who, let me just say, she was so smart in wanting to go on the first day. If I was casted on season 17, I would have wanted to go on the first day as well, because everybody knows that first premiere episode, everybody watches. The second one, that's when the viewers start to fall off. You want the most exposure the first day. That's what I would have done, and she was smart for doing that. All of the girls, actually, that decided to go on the first day were really smart for doing that. Now, Jules did an original song and lip-sync performance, which there's been a lot of discourse online about how we're sick of the lip-sync songs for the talent show, and I get it. I agree to some extent, but I will say that Jules' song was super catchy, and I still catch myself singing it in my head to myself when I'm just sitting there doing nothing. And also, the performance was really great. Spoiler alert, Jules does end up in the top 2, and I feel like just based off of first impressions of her talent show and her song, it was a justifiable placement in the top 2. Next, moving on to Ariete. Now, Ariete did a cultural performance, and while it was a great performance, it just really didn't wow me. I understand that having a cultural performance on Drag Race can be kind of iffy, especially since this is a drag show. We're expecting it to be big and huge, and Ariete just kind of played it straightforward. Also, another problem that I have with the performance, well, not necessarily a problem, but just something that I'm thinking about as I'm talking about it, is that this performance did not tell me who Ariete was. Just based off of her outward appearance and the extravagant makeup and costumes she makes, I didn't really get an idea of who Ariete was in this performance because it was very straightforward and something that we've seen done before on the show and maybe a little bit better. Also, just speaking in retrospect for how Ariete behaved on this season, this first impression definitely did not tell me who this girl was. I am going to talk about Rate a Queen a little bit here because Ariete and Lana Jarrett decided to rig the voting system for Rate a Queen and make sure that neither one of them ended up in the bottom. I know a lot of girls were pissed about this in the workroom, but honestly, smart move. It was really smart of them to team up together, create a little alliance, just to make sure that neither one of them ended up in the bottom. Okay, moving on to Lydia Butthole Collins. Now, let me just soft brag on myself a little bit. Lydia does follow me on Instagram at gem_holographic. Follow me, please. That's my little bragging rights. The mandatory meeting also follows me on Instagram. So why don't you follow me on Instagram? It'll be in the description. Now, Lydia's performance was based off of this really weird, like, sock puppet thing. Was it a penis? I don't know. It was weird and very creative. The ending of the performance kind of left me wanting a little bit more. It would have been really sickening if Lydia came out from behind the sock puppet and ripped off her red sequin dress to have a little sock a la Red Hot Chili Peppers. That would have completely killed the performance, and I feel like RuPaul would have died during that. Overall, it was a good performance, but I can see why she got the critiques that she did. Moving on to Lucky Stars. Now, Lucky did an original song. It was crazy, y'all. She had a pitcher of lemonade as a head and lemon titties and lemon ass, and she was squirting the lemonade off. How do you think of these things? I don't even know, but she pulled it off. The performance was great, and I'm just gonna address the elephant in the room. Of course, this is Nina Bonita Brown's illegitimate child, and you know, and it really did seem like they were trying to go for that storyline with Lucky, and as much as they like featured her in the episode and hyped her up, I just wish that we could have got to see a little bit more of her throughout the season. Moving on to Joella, the Slasian diva of LA, and she did an original song, and I will just say, I have met Joella in person, working in Los Angeles, and she is a doll. She's so sweet, she's so nice. But I'm gonna keep it real, the song was okay, and the thing that I love about Joella is she just has this unshakable confidence when she's on the stage, but what she's doing on the stage, especially in this performance, to me it was kind of crunchy. Like, no shade at all, and honestly, like, her confidence that she has about herself on the stage, it really makes you get into the performance of what she's doing. Even if what she's doing was a little crunchy. Like, sorry girl, it's just me being honest. But I live for Joella. She's another one that was giving us great TV, and I really do wish that we got to see more of her on the season. Moving on to Acacia Forgot. And Acacia decided that she was going to do some live singing, which, if you're a fan of Drag Race, typically is not a good thing to do in a talent performance.
People hiding under cover without knowing what.
But she went in it full confidence. And one thing I will say about the performance, it was very straightforward. And can we be real a little bit that country music as a whole is like kind of boring? And the only thing that really makes it like somewhat entertaining is to see a man in a dress performing country music live. Is that just me? Let me just address it because I know it's going to be in the comments. A lot of people have been likening Acacia to me and vice versa. And I like Acacia, but I would like to think that there's a little bit more polish to what I do. No shade to her. And then finally, for day one of the talent show, we have Miss Susan Tooth herself doing a really creative tap dancing lip sync number, which again, another original song. But the way that Susie presented it, I think was super interesting. And I think this is the first time that we've really seen like actual tap dancing on the show. I know that Jimbo did it as Shirley Temple for Snatch Game, but I think this is the time where we actually see it, like for real, portrayed straightforward. And also, I know that there's been a lot of commentary on Susie's makeup, and say what you want about it, but at least the bitch is distinct. You're talking about her. I think that when I first saw Susie's makeup, I wish they had put a jump scare warning, but I live for her. Like, I think that the way that she does her makeup is fine. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but it is super distinct. You cannot take that away from her. Now, the twist with this talent show was that the girls that are performing on day 2 get to rate a queen, all of the queens from the first day, and the second group chooses Acacia to be in the bottom. Which, again, I feel like if Lana and Arietti did not do their little alliance. Arietti would have been in the bottom, but we have Acacia in the bottom. It is what it is. The top two of this week are Susie Toot and Jewel Sparkles. And this lip sync song, y'all, I don't know, this written by AI shit that Katy Perry was trying to peddle to us. Not living for the song. The song choice was questionable. Katy Perry has so many hits that they could have chosen, and I get it. It's her new album. They want to promote whatever, but Woman's World is not a good song. Despite that, I feel like both of the girls did a great job. But Susie Toot wins the first lip sync and the first challenge of the season. So moving on to day 2. We're starting off with Sam Starr, who throughout the first episode was really throwing daggers at Acacia for doing country music. And she was really hyping up this song, and I was not living for the song. I was not living for the performance. I mean, it was fine. And I was just left with this feeling of wanting a little bit more from her, especially since she was hyping up, oh, I'm the country queen, I'm gonna do the country music and all this. I was just left wanting a little bit more. You know, there were a few crumbs left and I wanted her to eat those, but she didn't in my. Also, I think I'm entitled to some damages because watching that Kentucky Fried Crispy Death Drop, what made me want to ice my scoliosis-ridden back, girl.
Wow.
Y'all, if y'all are gonna do stunts, like, please be safe. Like, don't do anything extra because that death drop looked like it hurt. Moving on to my favorite of the season, Miss Anya Nerve. Now, Anya had an original song and it was like one of those, you know, song that teaches you how to do a dance. It was very catchy, and it's clear from this first impression that RuPaul has of Anya that she loves her. And honestly, just speaking in retrospect, having watched the majority of the season, Anya Nerve is my pick to win season 17 of RuPaul's Drag Race. Overall, Anya had a great performance. The look was really cool that she wore in the performance. The yellow and the black really stood out. It was just overall a great showing for Anya. Moving right along to Crystal Envy, who had an original song. Y'all, the performance was good. The original song was fine. I'm just gonna say that obvious reveals are a huge no-no. And y'all, let's just keep it real. Starting the performance in a cape or a bunch of fabric wrapped around your body is not a reveal, okay? No shade to anybody, I'm just speaking from experience. Up next we have Whore, Mona Lisa, doing live comedy. Y'all, here come Hormona with the stiff wear everywhere bob. And I'm not gonna put too much on Miss Whore, Mona Lisa, because it takes some big girl panty draws to come out on the main stage of RuPaul's Drag Race and do some live comedy. However, in my humble opinion, the talent show is a way for you to show what you are talented at. You're not gonna do great if you learn how to do something for the talent show. And to me, that's where Hormona struggled. Moving on to Miss Corey King with an original song. Let me just say, whoever produced this track did their big one, because it is giving me 90s house, the boots down. It's giving me CeCe Peniston, it's giving me Robin S., it's giving me La Bouche, it's giving me all of the 90s house vibes, and I was living for it. I reference Shake That Ice at least once a day. However, the outfit, girl, I hated this holographic bodysuit. Girl, that World Wrestling Federation 1980s bodysuit was not it. I will say though, that one ice cube that popped out of her in between me down there, star quality, baby. Star quality.
If you don't have star quality, baby, get the out of here.
Moving right along to Lana Geray. Now, Lana did an original song, and from what I know about Lux, just in this, see, I said it, I said Lux.
Honestly, I am a little very gagged.
Still a good bitch.
Always.
Based off of this first performance, the only thing that I know about Lana Geray is that she's Lux Noir London's drag daughter and she's a model. Talking about the actual content of the performance, I felt like the song was okay, and the performance left me wanting more. Like, girl, you really didn't give me much on that stage, and I just kind of wanted more. Moving right along to round out day 2 of the talent show, we have Lexi Love, the icon. Now, in this performance, I really did enjoy Lexi. I felt like her original song was great. The outfit that she wore was fantastic. And in that performance, that triple split, flip, split, flip, split was iconic. And to do all of that in roller skates, girl. Okay, so the top 2 of this week is Lexi Love versus Crystal Envy. I totally understand these placements. They both did exceptional in the talent show, and they performed to Alter Ego by Doechii, which is a fantastic song. I'm really into Doechii, and I wasn't really familiar with Doechii before this episode, but after this episode, having looked into the songs that she's put out, I am a fan. The lip sync on both sides was pretty evenly matched. However, I do feel like Lexi did a little bit more in the lip sync to justify her win, giving Lexi the 2nd win of the season, the winner of the talent show. The girls from week 1 got to Rate a Queen the girls from week 2, and they all chose to put Hormonalisa in the bottom against Acacia Forgot. I'm just gonna keep it real. Both of the performances in this lip sync were not giving. It was to Yes and by Ariana Grande, which already is not one of my favorite songs. However, I just feel like they could have given a little bit more. And I will say that Acacia had the little butt plug makeup brush thing. It was funny. I thought it was gross though. I thought it was gross. So, you know, for me, neither one of them really did it in the lip sync. However, Acacia is named the winner, and then we have Hormonalisa going home. But wait! There's a twist! RuPaul reveals the Badunkadunk tank, which is a giant dunk tank with 10 levers that if you pull the right one, you dunk Michelle and you get to stay in the competition. Well, Hormonalisa pulls lever number 7 and dunks Michelle in the first episode, leaving Hormona safe in the competition, meaning that nobody has went home. Season 14, Season 17 is coming for your gig. Now, I will say in Untucked, there was a little bit of drama with Joella giving the girls, Lana Jarrett asking, well, what did you think of my performance? And Joella telling her what she really felt was that it wasn't giving, which, girl save, it was not giving. And then Lana getting so offended at Joella for being honest. The fool girl, I can't. Like, this is what I mean, like, Joella went home so early, and I wish she would have stuck around for some of these later challenges because she would have been giving me my TV life, girl. Moving on to the next episode, which is our first design challenge of the season. Each of the girls are tasked with creating a look based off of... The girls are tasked with creating a unique outfit based off of different tiles on the Monopoly board. And let me just say, starting out this episode, like, the drama from Untucked unfolds, and Lana is pissed at Joella, and then Joella comes at Hormona. Joella is sitting there with this horrible wig, and she's like, girl, fix your mug. And then they cut to Joella, and her makeup is busted. Honestly, like, like, girl, is giving me everything I need from TV. I don't have much to say about Trimgate that hasn't already been said. I just think that Jules, girl, and this is for anybody that's gonna do a Drag Race sewing challenge, if there's a specific material that you want to use, hide that shit. Hide it. Because honestly, like, I understand why Jules was upset with Anya for taking the trim, but I'm just gonna say, controversial opinion, Anya's outfit was my favorite. This design challenge, she just gave me opulence down, and that was the challenge. But yeah, y'all, if y'all have a specific trim that you pull off of that pink table that you want to use, hide that shit. Don't let nobody see it, because if somebody takes it, can you really get upset with them? I mean, I know that she had asked if she could use it, and Jules said no, but if it's there, somebody's gonna grab it. If it wasn't Anya, it would have been somebody else. So that's just my little sage advice for anybody doing a Drag Race design challenge. So another couple of things with this episode that I want to touch on is, for whatever reason, Lucky Stars was pressured into doing, like, I guess traditional drag when she typically does really avant-garde creative drag, and for whatever reason she chose the very first design challenge to do that, and this whole episode poor Lucky was looking so defeated, and I'm sitting there watching the episode going, girl, why are you why are you putting this pressure on yourself to do a part of drag that you don't typically do for the first design challenge? I was just left in a state of confusion. One more smaller gate that we had in this episode was a rhinestone gate. Girl, Lexi, you are messy, bitch. You are so messy for ratting out on Hormona with these damn rhinestones. Like, I get it. You want to have a fair, playing field in the competition, and she used her own stones. It's against the rules, but like, girl, the dress wasn't all that to begin with, so I don't know why you were so upset. But I guess it's the pressure cooker of the competition. Lexi felt away, but it was just funny to see Hormona sitting there plucking these stones off of that dress, mad as hell. I would have been mad too, but... So, like I said, Anya was my favorite for this episode, and unfortunately, in the bottom, we have Joella versus Lucky Stars. Let me just say, Paula Abdul song, fantastic choice for the lip sync. Lucky was kind of doing the most, and I get she wanted to stay, but the performance, in my opinion, was not super focused, and Joella just beat her in the lip sync. So, we have Lucky Stars pulling the wrong lever, and she goes home. Moving on to episode 4 of the season, and let me just say that the Bitch I'm a Drag Queen challenge was so good. Letting the girls just group together and decide what they're gonna do for their music videos was such a great idea, because we have so many hilarious things that happen. Like, the standout for me is Crystal Envy as the tumbleweed.
That no one can get.
Bitch, I'm a tumbleweed.
That looks way better.
In her performance, like, it was just really good. I wish that there were more challenges like this on Drag Race where they kind of just let the queens do whatever and then present it to the judges. It just kind of gives you an idea about how these queens think and operate. I just think that it's a good idea. Starting off with Bitch I'm a Drag Queen Volume 1, we have Lana Jarre and Lydia B. Collins, and I felt like that they were okay. The standout of their commercial was Crystal Envy as the tumbleweed in the background. So the second number in this commercial was Joella referencing Mariah Paris Balenciaga in season 2, and it was not giving for me. It was not giving. It's clear that Joella did not have an understanding of why the gospel aspect of this song was funny. It's just very clear to me that she did not get the joke, and she was doing the most, and it just, for me, it didn't really work out the way that I felt like she thought it was going to work out. And spoiler alert, I can see why she ended up in the bottom. We're not even talking about the runway yet. Moving on to the next performance, which is Back Rolls, featuring Jewel Sparkles and Arietti. And let me just say, Arietti got ate up in this performance by Jewel. Not even a question. Jewel ate her up in here. She is like, she's there the entire time, participating in the music video, but all eyes are on Jewel just because of what she's doing. This is a constant thing that we will see with Arietti in the competition. Aside from her fashion and her makeup, in the challenges, she either doesn't stand out or she does the most. There's like no in between. Hormona's performance was fine. It was good, but there wasn't really any like belly grabbing laughs, and I feel like that's what the challenge was to take the subject matter and make it a little funny, and Hormona did just fine. I have really no critiques except for that what she was doing in the actual video wasn't, super hilarious, but I guess that's not a crime either. And it was my favorite, like I said. Rounding out the first volume of Bitch I'm a Drag Queen, we have Crystal Envy, and I'm just gonna tell you guys right now, this was my favorite one out of all of them. Crystal did a fantastic job. There was a fully thought out thing with her portion of the video, and she did that, in my opinion. Next, we have volume 2 of Bitch I'm a Drag Queen, and we are starting out with Miss Susie Toot, and let me just say, she did that thing, y'all. She had the rocker outfit, she had the rocker makeup, she had the rocker hair. The performance itself was funny, and I really feel like Susie did give what needed to be gave. The next group, we have Sam Star and Acacia Forgot, and I'm just gonna say they did okay. I don't really have any critiques. They both were kind of the same energy, and they were just okay. The next performance is my girl, Anya Nerve, coming in with this gadding and the jazz. She did the best in this second volume. Hers is the one that I think about all the time. The way that she did the marijuana, you know, she did it. She did it for me. Hers was my favorite. I do like Susie's, but Anya's was my favorite. I don't know. It just gives me. It just gives me. That's all that I need to say. And then we have Corey King, again, the fool. Her performance was a confused mess. I feel like, well, I know for a fact, because she said it in the episode, but she took the fact that Kennedy Davenport kind of resembled a chicken and ran with it. And it was just very confusing, and it really didn't have anything to do with the song that she was trying to portray. So it was a confusing mess, honestly. I can see why she was in the bottom. As far as the runway goes, nobody really had like my favorite runway. I will say I did enjoy Arietti's runway, but I couldn't tell that it was quilted material. But I wouldn't say that it was my favorite on the runway either. This one was kind of a miss for me. I will say that we have Miss Joella cosplaying as a quilt or as a feminine hygiene product without the wings. And we have Miss Corey King in the bottom with Joella, and can I just say, I'm sick of hearing this song, okay? I was an LA girl performing West Hollywood, and literally you could throw a rock at a club and there would be 2 drag queens performing to this song in the club. I don't know why this is such a popular drag song. I'm sick of it. Can we get a different song, please? And unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to the Slasian diva of LA, Miss Joella, leaving the competition. In my opinion, justifiably, but I do wish that she lasted a little bit longer just because she was giving me such good TV. Moving on to episode 5, we have RDR Live. And I'm just gonna say, I agree with the consensus. The SNL reference, it doesn't work for this day and age. I feel like Saturday Night Live is not as much of a cultural landstone that it was back in the day. So in my humble opinion, if I was a producer on Drag Race, I would switch it up a little bit. Maybe do a comedy challenge referencing In Living Color. In my opinion, it is better than SNL. Or even a challenge kind of based off of Wild 'N Out, because it would be fun to see the queens kind of come out and read each other and make it rhyme. I don't know how successful the girls would be at it, but I just feel like that would be a more entertaining. Starting off the sketches, we have Anya Nerve, Corey King, Arietti, and Anya did perfectly in her role. I feel like she was funny, she did what needed to be done, but I will say that Arietti was doing the absolute most in this for whatever reason. And I will say that seeing Lana kind of let loose and portray this funny character, even though her entire character was just walking around with giant tits, it was funny, and it was good to see her step out of her like kind of strict model role that she's been giving herself thus far in the season. But other than that, the first sketch was just okay. Next, we have Jewel Sparkles, Hormona Lisa, and Sam Star doing this really weird sketch inspired by the Sweaty Balls sketch from SNL, which in and of itself is like kind of obscure and kind of random. The whole premise of the sketch is that the name of what they're talking about and all the innuendos are incredibly vulgar and dirty, but they're talking about something innocent. And I do agree with the judges' critiques on Hormona kind of giving too much with it, but I feel like also because this is based off kind of obscure sketch, there really wasn't any reference to it, so I can't fault Hormona for that. Jules was the standout of this sketch for me. She was funny and she did what needed to be done. I'm just gonna say it's always great to see RuPaul get on the stage and perform, especially this song that she did, Double Made Me Do It. It's a great song. It was a great performance. I love seeing RuPaul perform. Always love seeing her perform. It was great. Love it. Next we have the Weekend Update sketch, and this is always like the cornerstone of the Saturday Night Live when we have the Weekend Update. And let me just say that Susie Toot stole the show in this, and I don't really have anything else to say because Susie did kind of overshadow the other 2 girls in the sketch. Like Lexi and Crystal really weren't giving what needed to be gave, and then they let Susie come in with the Rhonda character and completely steal the show. Y'all, I'm frustrated. Lydia fought for this role from Susie. I was gonna say Lydia Butthole Collins fought Susie Toot for this role, referencing Sophia from the Golden Girls, not because she is an appreciator of the Golden Girls, but because she could do the old lady makeup, which if the sketch was about doing old lady makeup, then she would have been fine. However, the sketch was about being funny. Lydia performed this as Lydia, not necessarily the character of Gert that she was meant to be portraying. It wasn't very funny. I also feel like, you know, critiquing everybody here, Acacia also was doing a little bit too much. You know, the way that she was responding to a lot of the jokes, she was doing a bit too much, putting a little bit too much sauce on it, which kind of really could have been stellar and a standout. But the way that Acacia portrayed it, it just didn't work for me. So the runway for this episode is Tickled Pink. I'll just say my favorite look out of everybody's was Susie Toot. And this is the episode where the cast starts to turn on Susie, especially in Untucked. All of the fashion girls are mad, okay, that Susie is gonna win this challenge while wearing a clown look, which, spoiler alert, clown look was my favorite. It was very well done and it looked great on her. But I just find it entertaining that the fashion girls, especially Lana, were crashing out over this clown look. I know our girl Lana was going through it backstage, but I just find it hilarious. When somebody came up and asked her if she was okay, she just has the package of red vines. She just goes, "I'm fine."
Girl, you okay?
"I'm fine.
Girl, you okay?
I'm fine.
Girl, you okay?
I'm fine." And even though we have 17 seasons of this show and however many international seasons and however many all-star seasons, for some reason in this episode the girls are learning that you can't win just by being pretty. For the lip sync, we have Lydia Butthole Collins versus Arietti. Lip sync song, Boogie Wonderland, fantastic choice. I will say that Lydia definitely won this lip sync. She gave what I needed from the song. I feel like Arietti was doing a bit too much and not really connecting with the song. And fortunately, Lydia Butthole Collins is announced as the winner of the lip sync, which means that Arietti is eliminated.
But wait! There's more!
They bring out the levers and Michelle gets on the badunkadunk tank and Arietti pulls lever number 1, dunking Michelle and keeping Arietti in the competition.
I was in pure shock.
Alright you guys, episode 6 was the Sea Sickening Ball, where the queens had to make outfits out of garbage found in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which if you didn't know is a giant floating island of trash in the Pacific Ocean. In terms of like big drama, this episode was definitely spray paint gate, where Arietti and Anya both accidentally spray painted on Lexi's tarp. Now, I'm not gonna put too much on it, it's been said. I will say though that Arietti should have spoke up first because she was right there when Lexi found out that there was spray paint on her outfit. And let me just dig into Lexi a little bit because girl, you spray painted a tarp the same shade of blue that the tarp was. And then all the drama for you ruined my outfit, and you just cut a neck hole in the tarp and wore it. But I will say, just giving my own 2 cents, I definitely understand why Anya did not speak up. I am the same exact way. When somebody is upset, I don't want to say anything and make them even more upset, but in my opinion, Arietti was right there when it first started going down, so she should have spoke up first. It's really unfair that everybody put everything on Anya, when truthfully, had Arietti said something first, it probably wouldn't have been as bad. Speaking of Arietti, she did her big one with this challenge. Now, in terms of just the overall ball, I did not have like a favorite look. I just, I wasn't really super impressed with all the looks, to be completely honest. If I had to choose a favorite, I would probably say that it was Arietti, just because it was the most, I guess, creative and colorful and everything. But that's not really saying much because I didn't really prefer her look. Not really saying much because I really didn't like any of the looks in this episode. Also, shout out to Hunter Schafer. I did watch Cuckoo, did not clock that she was a doll. Shout out to her. You do your big one, girl. In terms of the lip sync, we have Whore Mona Lisa and Lana Jaray in the bottom, lip syncing to Get Him Back by Olivia Rodrigo. And I'm just gonna be flat out and honest with you guys. I was not feeling the song. I don't know this Olivia chick. I don't really vibe with her music. I just did not like the song. The only like really notable thing that I can really recall from the lip sync itself was Lana doing the scorpion thing with her leg. That was really entertaining. But in terms of just the lip sync performance as a whole, the song really makes it not a memorable lip sync for me. And unfortunately, this is the last we see of Miss Hormona Lisa this season because she is eliminated by Lana Jarrett. Alright you guys, episode 7, the long anticipated, we know it's coming every season, so you should be prepared, the Snatch Game. Now, this was one of the worst Snatch Games of the series. Almost everybody but like 3.5 people flopped. Okay? Let me just say, Susie was so confident. Miss Susan A. Tooth was so confident in her portrayal of Ellen Green. And girl, prison. You did not do this woman justice at all, girl. And then to be delusional about it afterwards, I just cannot. Other terrible standouts. We have to talk about Miss Lana Jarrett portraying Rosa Parks and completely bombing during Black History Month. Girl, it was a tragedy. Lexi Love as Gilbert Gottfried. Now, that's the most frustrating part for me in this Snatch Game was immediately off the bat, RuPaul did not even ask you any Snatch Game questions. She just said, Gilbert Gottfried, how are you? And you choked and you gave up. Now, clearly, I'm not a judge. I was not judging that episode. Lexi definitely did not deserve to be high saved for that performance. No matter how funny her bombing was, she did not deserve that placement. Another terrible performance. Arietti as Baby Cupid. Girl, prison. That was terrible. Why? And this is the thing that kills me about seeing these fashion girls in this season is you're not gonna get by being pretty or having good fashion or being out of the box or whatever it is you do. You have to do well in the challenge, and you, Arietti, did a terrible job. I don't think it matters what corner of drag you occupy, whether you do avant-garde stuff like Arietti or polished pageant stuff like Sam Star. When you sign up for the show, you need to be able to do what they ask you to do. Especially since this is season 17 and you know that Snatch Game is coming. And that's what frustrates me the most about watching these queens flop, because I get the air from just their performances and their lack of preparedness, I guess I would say, is that these girls really think that the way that they present themselves on the runway is going to save them from a terrible challenge performance. And yeah, sure, sometimes maybe that's true. But 99% of the time, if you do bad in the Snatch Game, you're gonna lip sync. Or in the case of season 14, all y'all are gonna lip sync. So you know it's coming, why not prepare? I don't care if you want to be a model outside of Drag Race. When you sign up for Drag Race, you know few things for certain. You're gonna do a Snatch Game, you're gonna be asked to make a dress, and you're gonna do an acting performance. You gotta be able to deliver the tea, y'all. And it's just frustrating. Every year we have all these girls that come in here so unprepared. It is so frustrating. In the case of Susie too, she was over-prepared and then didn't even realize the jokes she was telling were not funny. It's crazy. I'm not gonna, talk about everybody's performance just because some of them were a little bit forgettable, but I just want to touch on this, is that I think that Acacia Forgot has shown us that the Beyonce curse has extended into Trisha Paytas. What do I mean by that? No queen that has portrayed Trisha Paytas on the Snatch Game has done a good job. Acacia was passable, but she really didn't give me that much to work with in this Snatch Game. She wasn't funny, she wasn't not funny, she was just kind of mid. Crystal Envy as Nicole Richie clearly did not know Lionel Richie was her father. Very evident. And then on top of that, like, the makeup choice that she chose for Nicole Richie was questionable too. Like, girl, Nicole has never looked like that, first of all. And then it wasn't funny on top of that. So I can totally see why she was in the bottom against Lana. Spoiler alert. Let's get into some of the great performances. So, of course, for me, the winner is Miss Anya Nerve as Eddie Murphy. It was hilarious. It was spot on. Every time Anya answered a question or opened her mouth in that Snatch Game, it was funny. it was definitely a winning performance. Also, Jules as Miss Big Feet, hilarious. Completely off the wall choice for Jules. I'm kind of iffy on queens doing like mythological creatures or made up characters in the Snatch Game, but she definitely was very funny in the Snatch Game and she deserved her top placement. Also, can we just talk about like Alyssa Edwards being the guest judge for the Snatch Game? Why? I mean, I do love seeing Alyssa on my screen. I'm not complaining about Alyssa being like on the show, just being there, but it was just kind of a questionable thing to me as to why she was a guest judge on the Snatch Game. I digress. Corey King as Big Ange. Her performance in the Snatch Game as Big Ange, she was funny, but she really only answered like one question, and the other times she was featured in the episode, she was like quipping off of somebody else. But she was funny. I think we all know that Corey's original Snatch Game choice was Michael Jackson. Corey, your Michael Jackson is giving me Flex Alexander, the made-for-TV VH1 original movie, Man in the Mirror, starring Flex Alexander as Michael Jackson.
What was that? Okay, James.
Girl. And also, speaking of Corey, like outside of drag, not trying to insult Corey at all, but Corey reminds me of Arsenio Hall. And it would have been, it would have been hilarious if Corey did Arsenio Hall the way that Keenan Ivory Wayans portrayed Arsenio Hall in Living Color.
It's the Arsenio Hall Show, starring Arsenio Hall. And here's Eddie Murphy's best friend, and don't you forget it, Arsenio!
That would have been hilarious. It would have taken me out, but then that would have opened up a whole new like kind of banter opportunity with Anya's Eddie Murphy, because if you didn't know, Arsenio Hall and Eddie Murphy are besties.
And they were roommates.
Oh my god, they were roommates.
So just in terms of like Snatch Game performances, there definitely could have been a couple of other different people in the bottom. But definitely Lana and Crystal Envy were like kind of the worst of the worst. I mean, you could have switched out Crystal Envy for Arietti and vice versa, and it would have been the same thing regardless. The runway category was Nailed It, and of course my favorite look of the night was Anya Nerves. I was living for the 90s. Hair show fantasy, also with the airbrush shirt, and it was giving me everything I needed from this runway. I was not a fan of this lip sync song. I'm not like a huge Selena Gomez fan to begin with, and watching the performance, in my opinion, Crystal outperformed Lana, and I really think that this should have been the week that Lana goes home. However, that's not what ended up happening, and we say goodbye to Miss Crystal Envy. And also, can I just say that Lana's wig popping off in that lip sync took me out. Like, this helmet of hair just flopping off in the lip sync took me out completely. I'm not saying that she should have gone home for the wig coming off, but for me that would have been a big contributing factor if she did go, because Crystal, in my opinion, outperformed Lana. Episode 8, we have the Rusical, which is the Wicked Wiz of Oz. Let me just start off by saying that this is the first acknowledgement of the Lydia and Corey romance subplot in the season. Cute. Now, we do have a little bit of drama between Susan Tooth and Acacia Forgot, fighting over the role of Kansas Dorothy in the Rusical. And this is really like the first execution of the Scissors Curse, which essentially is anytime you go against Susie, you get chopped from the competition, which is what we end up seeing here. Acacia ends up with the role of Kansas Dorothy, and Susie ends up with the role of the Wicked Witch of the West, or the Green Witch, I think they call her, because licensing, whatever. Talking about the Rusical itself, it was a pretty good Rusical. I do like how they frame all these different characters from different iterations of The Wizard of Oz coming together like auditioning for a new musical about The Wizard of Oz. I think that was a really interesting thing. However, I'm a little biased because my favorite version of The Wizard of Oz is The Wiz. So I would have just liked, aside from one number featuring Harlem Dorothy, I would have liked more acknowledgement of The Wiz. Just, it's my favorite version of The Wizard of Oz, and I know that it's a lot of other people's favorite version too. The movie version of The Wiz has Diana Ross, Michael Jackson. How many movies does Michael Jackson do? Hello. You have Lena Horne, Richard Pryor. I mean, so many like black legends in this movie, and I just wish that there was a little bit more of an acknowledgement of The Wiz. I mean, even going back to the original musical, we have the fantastic Stephanie Mills starring as Dorothy. So, you know, just in my opinion, I would have loved to have more of The Wiz included in there. And also, just Acacia's performance as Kansas Dorothy really didn't give me anything. I mean, she had this storyline in the episode about how it's, you know, a death anniversary for one of her family members, and I totally get it. You know, that could throw you off. But it's just, she fought so hard for this role, and the singing didn't give it to me. Her acting in the background didn't give it to me. It was weirdly sedate in nature, her performance. I'm confused as to why she fought so hard for this role, and then she didn't do anything with it. Also, unfortunately, Miss Corey King is tasked with playing the role of Flying Monkey number 2. And it's just kind of uncozy for me. I'm not gonna lie. We got to this point because she wanted to play the Good Witch, but she lost to Jules, who did a good job in the musical as the Good Witch. But I think her exposed silicone breast stole the show. Again, speaking of star quality, watch that left titty.
If you don't have star quality, baby, get the out of here.
My favorite performance from this musical was Anya Nerve as Harlem Dorothy. As I said before, The Wiz is my favorite version of The Wizard of Oz, so she really killed it. The look was down, the dancing was down, the singing was down. She really killed this performance. And I really feel like, not to take anything away from Sam Starr, but I really do feel like if they didn't shoehorn Cher into this musical for some reason, Anya probably would have secured the win. Not taking anything away from Sam's performance, because she did do a good job, and she does actually end up winning this musical as Cher playing the Witch of Eastwick. But it's Drag Race, so if they're gonna find a way to shoehorn in Cher, they will. The runway theme for this episode was parasols, and my favorite of the runway was Anya. She had this really gorgeous yellow look. And unfortunately, in the bottom, we have Corey King versus Acacia Forgot to a song by Adam Lambert. Now, I will say, Corey killed this lip sync, and I'm not gonna put too much on Acacia Forgot, but she got ate up in that lip sync. And I don't know if necessarily she could have really killed in that lip sync. But unfortunately, Acacia was eliminated and Corey King gets to stay another day. Episode 9 of Season 17 is the Betsy Johnson Design Challenge. This is the 3rd design challenge they've had this season, y'all. They are really not playing with these girls. And we start off the episode with the reading challenge. And just some standouts. Susie was funny, Anya was funny, and Jules was funny. Everybody else was just kind of like middle tier. But one thing that we see, and I feel like they're planting the seeds a little bit for the next episode, Arietti was not funny at all. She had one joke where she came for Jules about her being, you know, her face being hard. Jules' pop back at her was funnier than Arietti's entire reading session. So the queens are tasked with creating garments based off of 3 different categories. There's the punk grunge flappers, which is what I would have wanted to choose just because I feel like I would have had more inspiration there. There was prenup, which is like a wedding look, and then Betsy Pink, which is a look entirely made of pink. So the way that everything kind of unfolded with the girls having to pick whoever got to choose next, Anya, Lana, and Corey all ended up in the pink category. I don't know what happened there. This episode kind of sets up this storyline for Lexi where they are kind of like trying to give her like a win, because since she hasn't had a win since episode 2 when she won the second day of the talent show, and I sensed that they were trying to set her up to win this challenge because she's been kind of like safe, low safe, high safe, you know, never really getting that win. And I really felt like that they were trying to set her up for that, but it really doesn't go anywhere in this episode. Highlights for me on this runway were, of course, Lexi. Her look was amazing. Jules' look was amazing. And speaking of Jules, she does take the win home in this episode. Her look honestly looked really, really good. It looked very Betsy. And y'all, Corey King was so confused this episode. She originally was gonna do like a floor-length gown, and then she shortened it, and then she wasn't gonna shorten it, but then she ended up with this honestly like horrible dress. It was not good. It wasn't as bad as like Lala Ree in season 13 in the bag ball, but it was just not a good look. And my girl Anya struggled this week with that look too, and justifiably she was low safe. But we have the lovers lip sync between Lydia and Corey. Now, the thing with Lydia is, in my opinion, she got the spirit of the category down for a Betsy Johnson like punk grunge flapper. However, the execution of the garment really didn't read Betsy Johnson. It was kind of all over the place. And though that was the critique that they gave her in the episode. Could I have seen Anya Nerve in the bottom with Corey? Yeah. But given the fact that Lydia's was more unfocused, I can justifiably say that Lydia and Corey both kind of deserve to be in the bottom. Not putting too much on either one of them, but you know. The lip sync for this episode is Kiss Me Deadly, which thematically with the storyline that Corey and Lydia were having definitely fit, and it was a pretty good lip sync. And unfortunately, we had to say goodbye to Miss Corey King. All right, episode 10 is the roast, the villain's roast to be specific. Now let me just say, for this roast, they chose the 3 easiest queens to read. Mistress Isabel Brooks, Plain Jane, and Candy Muse. Especially for a roast, like, typically, going off what I said with the Snatch Game, like, there may not be a roast every season, but you should just at least prepare for one, just in case. And the thing about it is that, like, yes, Lydia won the challenge, and, you know, she got, like, a bunch of big reactions. However, in my opinion, nobody really, like, took it there for me. Like, I wasn't hunched over laughing at any of the jokes, which is what you would want from a good roast. We do have to talk about placement gate because I feel that it is ridiculous. As many people have pointed out, it doesn't matter where you're placed. If you're going to be funny, you're going to be funny. And I feel like that this is just another moment, at least from Ariette's side, where she's crashing out because she doesn't necessarily believe that anything outside of her runways really matter. That's where I'm kind of going with Ariette. That's where she's feeding me. And again, I don't like that attitude, because you should be able to come up with jokes about something and be funny. Like, at the end of the day, you are a drag queen. Reading is what we do, and when RuPaul says that reading is fundamental, yes, it's a joke, and yes, it's a reference to education, but at the end of the day, like, being able to read somebody down, it should be a part of your drag repertoire. Also, we have to talk about the unprofessionalism of stealing somebody's jokes. Now, somebody else pointed out that it was really weird how there was like a round table with everybody there going over their jokes. And Ariette boldly stole Jules' not good jokes. And for me, if I had to go after Ariette and I realized that she stole my jokes, you know, you should be able to quick wit, throw something in there. Like, come up to the mic like, and I want to thank Ariette for stealing some bad jokes. Now I don't have to do them, or something like that. You know, but the fact that Jules didn't bring it up in the moment is kind of weird to me, because I would have told everybody. I can understand if Jules didn't want to make it seem like she was making excuses for her performance, because she definitely did not do well in the roast. Something like that, especially in a competition setting, I feel like would be appropriate to bring up at some point. Y'all, we need to talk about Lexi getting in her head for no reason. First of all, she begged Jules to go last, and Jules said yes. The only caveat is that Jules put Susie before Lexi. Lexi thought that that was Jules trying to mess with her, and girl, it's not about you. You got what you wanted. Like, I'm confused about why she was so upset. It's giving very much loud and wrong. So, just breaking my format a little bit here, I am going to talk about the drama in Untucked, because in Untucked, we see Ariete and Lexi both crashing out on Jules for her placement, and Anya feeling a responsibility because she was kind of there for Jules in the workroom when Ariete was first crashing out on her, trying to stick up for Jules because it's a ridiculous thing to be upset about. Let's just keep it real. And then we have Ariete crashing out on Anya Nerve for sticking up for Jules, and then we have Lexi crashing out on Anya Nerve for sticking up for Jules, and it's just completely out of pocket. Lexi and Ariete were wrong, and I am glad that Lexi kind of realized at the 11th hour that she was wrong, and she did apologize to both Anya and Jules, but this is going to set up something that happens at the end of the episode and the beginning of the next episode that we're going to address. Like I said earlier, Lydia wins the roast. She did a fantastic job. Her set wasn't like super funny to me, but she did do a good job. She made the judges laugh, so I can justifiably give her the win. Now, we have the lip sync between Ariete and Jules. And the lip sync song was Ya Ya by Beyonce, which is a really, fun song to lip sync to. But in my opinion, neither one of them were really giving me what the song called for. Maybe I'm a minority in that, I don't know. Maybe I'm alone in that opinion, I don't know. But for me, neither one of them really gave what needed to be given. But Ariete did do worse in the lip sync, and we do see her go home. Now, that mirror message, Ariete, I hope you realize that you're going to be plagued by that mirror message for the rest of your career. Not being funny, not being shady, being honest. And this is just like kind of my opinion of Ariete throughout the entire season. It's a really weird phenomenon that I'm starting to notice, is that the alternative drag girls are picking up this mean girl energy thing, and I don't like it. It's really weird, and it's not really fitting with the archetype of the alternative drag queen that the show has been kind of building since season 4. So I'm a bit confused. When did the alternative Monster High girls pick up this weird mean girl, you can't sit with us fashion queen attitude? Weren't we just last season defending Dawn and other alternative drag queens like her with all drag is valid? So we have Ariete, who is an alternative drag queen in the same boat as Susie 2 doing an alternative style of drag. But for some reason, Ariete has this air of, I'm better than you, looking down her highlighted nose at Susie with this really weird, snobby attitude. I'm just trying to figure out, when did the alternative girls become, the mean girls in drag? The runway theme for this episode was Who Wears Short Shorts, and my favorite was Anya Nerve. I really liked the bodysuit. I love the nude illusion. It just gave everything for me. Episode 11, which is, for me, at the time of recording, the most recent episode of Drag Race. We start off with the queens reacting to the mirror message, and again, continuing my confusion, Ariete, why did you dedicate your last message to the competition to Anya? Weren't you mad at your friend Jules? I'm confused. Just to see how much that affected Anya with an insecurity that she has, it really put a bad taste in my mouth towards Ariete. It just really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it. I will say though, just on a positive note, that this kind of Ariete mirror message storyline does give Anya a more sympathetic side to her, which is potentially setting her up for a winner edit. We will see in a few weeks. I am definitely Team Anya. The challenge this week is Ross Matthews versus the Ducks, which is a reference to Capote versus the Swans. I'm not gonna go into it, y'all got Google. But all of the queens are playing different homages and archetypes for reality TV stars. One of the bigger roles is towards the end with the role of Chicago, which is what Jules is playing. Chicago is a huge reference to the icon and queen of reality television, Miss Tiffany New York Pollard, and her iconic Gemma Collins Reed in Celebrity Big Brother, which, not to plug, but to plug, I've done in a spoken word lip sync and I killed it. It was iconic.
Pretty much I will let Gemma know that she is a fat cunt.
But that being one of the larger roles and probably one of the more iconic roles in this acting challenge, it was definitely written to, if you excelled in it, you were gonna win, and if you didn't, you were in the bottom. That, however, does not happen because, and spoiler alert, the runway for this episode was the black and white ball, and Jules' runway was my favorite. It was very well constructed, the design, everything. Honestly, I think that this look did save Jules from being in the bottom. But in the bottom, we have Miss Lana Jarre and Lydia B. Collins. Now, I will say that the winner for this episode is my favorite, you guessed it, Miss Anya Nerve. She killed the role that she was given and she was hilarious. For the bottom two, Lydia really didn't deliver the way that they were trying to get her to deliver. She couldn't really do the lines. And then Lana, while she was giving the energy, she just couldn't make it as funny as I feel like that they wanted that role to be. Like, her archetype for the character was very specific with the reference of the I don't know her, which if you don't understand the reference or get the reference, you're not going to be able to really like portray it. And to educate those who don't know, the origin of the quote I don't know her was from Mariah Carey when somebody asked her about Jennifer Lopez.
Und was ist mit J-Lo? Die kenne ich nicht. Ups.
When they give you a role that references a specific pop culture moment, you need to be able to understand the reference in order to be able to execute the role. The bottom two lip sync to Unholy by Sam Smith. Let me just say, if ever any queen watching this goes on RuPaul's Drag Race and thinks that they're going to take a pair of scissors out of their bra and cut their dress off, take this as a PSA. It's not a good idea. Don't do it. I understand, like, in the heat of the moment, you think it's going to be sickening, but more often than not, the gag is not going to work. So my advice is that if you have a performance that you want to do where you want the dress to come off, just make it a reveal. Don't cut the dress off. Unfortunately, though, that scissor incident ends up making Lydia, who, in my opinion, at the start of the lip sync, was really capturing the judge's attention over Lana Jarre. That moment with the scissors and her struggling to cut the dress off and her struggling to get her leg out of the dress killed the lip sync for me. And unfortunately, we do have to say goodbye to Miss Lydia Butthole Collins. And it's especially like kind of sad because Lydia had a better track record than Lana did. And I really do feel like if Lydia didn't try to do this stunt with the scissors, that she would have stayed over Lana and probably went off to be in the top 4.
Guys, voiceover Gem here. I just want to give some context. The video portion of this video was filmed about 2 weeks ago, and the video took forever for me to edit. So we have missed 2 weeks thus far of the season from this video. So I decided, why not pop in with a little voiceover and a little visual on the screen for you guys. So we're gonna talk about episode 12. So episode 12 was the charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent monologues, which in my opinion is a pretty interesting challenge. We first saw it on All-Stars 6, and I feel like honestly this iteration of the challenge with the interpretive dance made the challenge much more interesting than it was presented on All-Stars 6. I'm not going to go through all of the performances, but I will say that Anya's and Lexi's performance was my favorite. There wasn't really too much going on in the episode outside of the challenge, except that for some reason, Sam was really upset at Lexi for not choosing her to be her partner in the mini challenge. And I didn't even know that y'all were attached at the hip like that. Like, maybe it's the edit, but their interactions really weren't giving it to me like that. And it's really weird because Sam is really in her feelings, but she really felt like it was going to be this Tia and Tamara moment with Lexi. And Lexi hit her with the "go home, Roger." I really do feel like when the queens are presented with a challenge like this, to not take it too seriously or be too cerebral about it, wink wink, because Lexi and Anya, I feel like, really nailed the essence of the challenge, bringing a little bit of humor to it, bringing more humor into the challenge, which is, in my opinion, what should have been obvious, because anytime there's a queen on RuPaul's Drag Race that says, oh, I want to do something really serious for this challenge, RuPaul always questions them on this, like, you want to do something serious on RuPaul's Drag Race? Why? When in doubt, always just make Ru laugh. It kills me when these girls come into the season thinking that they're going to intellectualize their way to the crown like Sasha Velour, when they end up giving more so Serena Chacha in season 5. I will say though that Anya and Lexi's performance, specifically for me, Anya's story and Lexi's interpretive dance was super hilarious. I don't know what it is about Anya's face when she was telling the story, but her facial expressions really sold the hilarity of what she was saying. And then I feel like Lexi perfectly captured the story in her interpretive dance. So for me, it was very obvious that they were going to be the top 2 of this challenge. And just with the other 2 groups, with Susie and Jules, I feel like their stories were a little bit too earnest. And while there were some points that were funny, I don't feel like either one of them really went there with the challenge. I also will say that the interpretive dances that Jules and Susie and even Sam and Lana gave for their respective stories, it really didn't portray the story and movement like an interpretive dance is supposed to be, at least in my opinion. I mean, there wasn't really necessarily anything wrong with the dance itself, but it just didn't portray the story and movement like I feel like the judges were looking for. The runway theme for this episode was The Ugliest Dress Ever, the sequel, which we first saw on season 13. And I'm just gonna say, Anya's was my favorite, as I'm sure is no surprise to anybody who's watched thus far in the video. She was dressed as a turkey and it was ugly, which was the whole point of the runway. And now I'm just gonna say that Sam and Jules did not understand the assignment. And honestly, I felt personally attacked. Jules was coming for my aesthetic. She could honestly meet me in the parking lot if she thinks that that dress was ugly. Now for the bottom 2, we have Sam and Lana, which I do agree, both of their performances for their respective stories and the dances, they were not super entertaining and they were a little bit too earnest. Where I feel like Susie and Jules was too earnest, they at least had some points of humor in there. Sam's and Lana's stories really didn't give it to me the way that I feel like it should have been punched up with the humor. But again, I don't know what it is with these queens. They didn't immediately understand that they should make it humorous. Even if it is a true story and it actually happened, you can find some funny things to say about it. The song for this lip sync was Illusion by Dua Lipa, and I will just say, like, I'm not the biggest fan of this song. It really just doesn't give it to me. And even though I do think that Lana beat Sam in this lip sync, I mean, Lana was up there twisting and turning her body like a baked honey glazed pretzel. Unfortunately, I do feel like it was her time to go and she was sent home just due to her track record at this point. Can I just say that in this episode, T.S. Madison is serving me my Dina Jones fantasy? Like, you thought there were 3, but who knew there was a 4th dream girl? Okay, so moving on to episode 13, which at the time of upload is the most recent episode, and this episode was the Makeover Challenge. So the really kind of sweet thing about this episode was that the queens were paired up with one of their parents. It was just really nice to see everyone's actual family coming together and celebrating their child in their art form of drag. It was just really nice to see in this episode. And one thing that I will say about this episode is nobody really did bad in the makeover challenge. Like, we've seen a lot of queens like do really poorly in this challenge and justifiably end up in the bottom. I do get the feeling that all along this episode was planned to be a non-elimination episode because nobody really did bad, and I just kind of feel like it would be a little bit in bad taste to send somebody home with everybody's parents there. I will say though that out of the bottom two, which ended up being Anya Nerve and Jules Sparkles, Jules did a little bit worse in the makeover. Like, I don't understand what these shapeless fur coats were meant to be. It was really confusing to me. Not saying that her makeover was necessarily bad, because I don't think it was. It's just the outfit choice for both her and her dad really confused me. And for the winner of this challenge, we have Sam Starr, and congrats to her, but I will say I have to get a little shady. The makeover that she did on her mom was great, but I feel like Sam's makeup aesthetic and the way that she does drag is pretty like translatable onto everybody. So I don't necessarily know if there was a lot of, how can I say, effort put into transforming her mom, just because of the way that she does her makeup and her drag is pretty, I would say, like pageant standard. You know, being a little shady. Congrats, Sam, you definitely did deserve the win in this makeover, but that's just one thing that I noticed about her performance. And in the bottom two, like I said a little bit earlier, we have Anya Nerve and Jules Sparkles facing off to One Thing by A. Marie. Now, y'all, I love this song. It just gives me my early 2000s R&B skis that I need. And I do feel like that the lip sync was pretty evenly matched. I mean, they were giving us two distinctly different ways of approaching the song. We have Anya over here serving us a hot slice of camp, no Crystal Lake. Then we have Jules giving us a hand on your hip, don't let your cyber spine slip. Like, the performances, like I said, it was pretty evenly matched. Like, I couldn't tell who was gonna stay and who was gonna go because both of them did give the energy of the song in two different ways. And of course, this lip sync ends up in a double chanté, which I think is justified, even though my little conspiracy theory is that this episode was going to be non-elimination anyway. But I'm glad that it was a double chanté because just out of the performances and given the criteria of the challenge, it being a makeover challenge, neither one of them did bad in the challenge or the lip sync. So definitely the double chanté was warranted. And now I do have to say, because La Roche was one of the rotating judges for this episode, I always love when La Roche comes onto the episodes because he always gives an insight to the girls and he's just very naturally funny. And I just have to say, La, girl, I ain't mad at you. Anya's father was looking kind of good. Go ahead, shoot your shot. You know, closed mouths do not get fed. It's like the lottery. You gotta be in it to win it, girl. And those are my thoughts on the last two episodes that we missed. I'm gonna hand it back over to Jem of 2 weeks ago. Bye, y'all.
So guys, that is my rundown of the season. So really quickly, let's get into my thoughts thus far on season 17. And who do I think is going to win? To answer that last question, it should be no question. I think Anya Nerve is going to win. I want Anya Nerve to win. And I don't have to justify that choice because she's absolutely killing this competition. As far as what I think of this season so far, this has been a very entertaining season of Drag Race. We have girls who don't care about what the fans think and are giving us good TV and drama. While I do feel like specifically Arietti has taken some of the drama things a little bit too far, I can't deny that this season has been very entertaining. While I have not finished the season yet, because like I said earlier, I am filming this after episode 11, but we still have like maybe 3 more episodes of Drag Race so we find out who wins. I do fully recommend watching this season. It's very entertaining, and Untucked has been very entertaining as well with all the drama and fights. I know I really didn't touch on everything that has happened in Untucked, just, you know, like the peak moments, but Untucked has been very entertaining. And I really do feel like that Drag Race is reaching a point where it's almost I don't want to say renaissance, but we're reaching a point where the queens are going on there to compete and they don't necessarily care what the fans are going to think afterwards. I mean, and this is the thing, I don't ever think it's a good idea to go on a queen's social media and flame her in the comments or whatever. If you have an opinion about somebody, you don't need to necessarily tell it to them. And yes, I shared my opinions in this video, but I'm not going to send this video to Arietti and say, look at what I said about you. And I just feel like that as fans, you can have discourse about it, but it's irresponsible, in my opinion anyway, to go under a queen's post and flame them for some reason. I just feel like, you know, the fans need to learn the difference between drama happening on reality TV and the actual people that are delivering the drama on reality TV. What we are seeing is an edited down version of a person, whereas that person in real life may not really act like that. We don't know any of these people personally. So I just think that ingest the entertainment as it is meant to be ingested as entertainment. At the end of the day, this is a TV show about a bunch of drag queens who are shady to one another. That's just what we do. So while I did have opinions and other people have opinions, I just think we all just need to be civil to one another and just enjoy the entertainment that we are getting on TV. Alright, you guys, I hope you enjoyed my recap thus far of Season 17. If you did, let me know down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on two things. One, who do you think is going to win Season 17? And two, what are your thoughts of the season thus far? While you're down there, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the notification bell and set them to all so you don't miss any one of my new uploads. If you'd like to tip a drag queen in need, my Venmo information will be right here as well as down below in the description. And if you'd like to follow me, my socials will be right here. And I'm going to let you guys go. Be bold, be beautiful, be truly, truly outrageous, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!